the invisible hero of Carabanchel. The Grand Via shopping center in Madrid pulsed with life that sweltering Saturday afternoon. Families, burdened with brightly colored shopping bags, strolled from store to store. Couples walked arm in arm, grateful for the cool air conditioning after escaping the choking summer heat of the streets outside. Children darted through the wide hallways, balloons bouncing behind them, ice creams dripping over their small fingers faster than they could lick. The air was saturated with the sweet scent of popcorn and the bitter aroma of fresh coffee, a sticky but oddly comforting mixture that urged people to stay just a little longer. Among the crowd moved Raúl Herrera, a man in his late 30s. His steps were steady but tired, each stride marked by quiet resignation. His gray t-shirt, faded from years of wear and torn slightly at the shoulder, contrasted with the crisp, fashionable outfits of those around him. Under one arm he carried a plain grocery bag, a carton of milk, a box of cereal, a few oranges. No luxury, nothing extra. Just what was needed. Beside him walked his 8-year-old son, Mateo, holding his father's hand with absolute trust. The boy's wide brown eyes shimmered with curiosity, his chestnut hair was tousled from running about, and his naive smile clashed against the permanent seriousness etched on Raúl's face. "Papa, can I have a strawberry cone?" the boy asked hopefully, pointing toward an ice cream vendor at the corner of the atrium. Raúl exhaled, not with impatience but with tenderness. "Of course, champ. Strawberry for you, lemon for me." They were almost at the counter when it began. At first, it was a single scream, sharp and isolated. Then a sound followed, a dry, metallic crack that echoed against the marble walls. Some thought it a firecracker. Raúl knew better. His body reacted before his mind caught up. That sound was unmistakable. A gunshot. The grocery bag slipped from his hand. Oranges rolled across the floor as he shoved Mateo down and covered him with his own body. The plaza erupted in chaos. Shoppers stampeded in every direction. The cacophony of screams ricocheted like broken glass. When Raúl lifted his head, his stomach clenched. Just a few meters away stood a little girl, no more than 6, frozen in terror. Her yellow dress with white flowers glowed unnaturally bright under the fluorescent lights. A half-melted cone dripped onto the polished floor, forgotten in her hand. She was staring at a man in a black jacket advancing toward her. In his hand gleamed a pistol. Small, but deadly enough to stop every heartbeat in sight. "Sofia, run. Please, run." A woman's desperate voice echoed through the atrium. But the girl didn't move. Fear locked her legs. Raúl felt something ignite within him, something he had sworn to bury. Memories of cold desert nights on military patrol, the claustrophobic silence of ambushes, the clipped precision of orders given and followed. He had left that life behind, swearing never to return. He wanted only to be a simple father in a modest Madrid neighborhood. But instinct, forged in fire and blood, cannot be silenced. Releasing Mateo, Raúl sprinted. His heartbeat thundered but his stride was steady, resolute. The gunman raised his pistol, aiming at Sofia's small chest. Raúl hurled himself forward, crashing into the girl, shoving her hard to the ground, and wrapping his body over hers like a shield. The gun roared. Agony tore through his left arm, a searing fire that ripped flesh and muscle. But Raúl did not move. He tightened his embrace around the girl, refusing to let her go. "My God, my daughter!" A woman screamed, heels clattering frantically on the tile. She fell to her knees beside them, her elegant navy suit smeared with ice cream and blood. This was Victoria Alvarez, CEO of Horizon Innovations, one of Spain's most powerful tech empires. "She's alive," Raúl rasped, voice hoarse but steady. "She's safe." The girl, Sofia, burst into sobs, clinging to Raúl's neck as if the stranger who bled over her dress was her only safe harbor in the storm. Guards swarmed into the atrium. Shouts filled the space. Dozens of phones filmed. The gunman, startled by resistance and the growing attention, muttered a curse and vanished into the stampeding crowd. Within minutes, the area was locked down. The story had already begun to spread. A former soldier saves the daughter of a CEO during a shooting in Madrid. The hospital. The emergency ward at San Carlos Clinical Hospital reeked of disinfectant and blood. The fluorescent lights cast their unforgiving glare over a sea of stretchers, nurses, and frantic relatives. Raúl sat on a gurney, his arm hastily bandaged. The bullet had torn through muscle but missed the bone. A miracle. Pain radiated through his body, but his gaze remained steady. "Señor Herrera, you must stay overnight," insisted a young doctor with fogged glasses. "We need to monitor for complications." Raúl shook his head firmly. "I can't. My boy needs to go home. He's been through enough today." Beside him, Mateo perched on a plastic chair, eyes red from crying. He clutched a toy dinosaur as if it might guard him from the world. "Papa, are you really okay?" the boy asked, voice trembling. Raúl forced a tired smile. "I'm alive, champ. That's what matters." The doctor frowned, but seeing the iron in Raúl's eyes, relented. He prescribed antibiotics and painkillers, warning that rest was essential, a warning Raúl knew he could not keep. Meanwhile, in another ward of the hospital, Victoria Alvarez sat with Sofia asleep in her lap. The girl had cried herself into exhaustion. Victoria stroked her daughter's blonde hair with almost violent tenderness, but her own gaze was distant, haunted. In the world of boardrooms and billion-euro deals, she had never known fear like this, raw, animal terror at the thought of losing her child. A knock at the door. Dominic Salgado, chief of security for Horizon Innovations, entered. A towering figure in a dark suit, expression carved from stone. "We have reports, ma'am," he said. The man's name is Raúl Herrera. Spanish. 38. Former military. Honorably discharged over a decade ago. Since then, warehouse jobs, construction, occasional security work. Lives in Carabanchel with his son. Mother deceased. Victoria looked up sharply. And his service record. Partially classified. We couldn't gain access. That doesn't please me, she muttered. Nor me, Dominic replied. Perhaps he acted on instinct. Or perhaps he has motives we don't yet understand. We must investigate further. Victoria glanced down at Sofia. Then back at Dominic. That man saved my daughter's life. I owe him more than words. But as a mother, and as CEO, I cannot afford blind trust. Find out who he really is. Return to Carabanchel. By nightfall, Raúl and Mateo returned to their modest apartment in an aging brick block. The elevator had been broken for weeks, so they climbed 4 flights of stairs. Sweat trickled down Raúl's back. His wounded arm throbbed with each step, but he forced himself onward, unwilling to show weakness before his son. The apartment was small, furnished with careworn pieces but kept meticulously clean. The familiar smell of stale coffee and cheap detergent filled the air. Mateo dropped his backpack with a sigh and collapsed onto the sofa. Papa, he whispered, today I saw you on TV. They called you a hero. Raúl sank beside him, holding his bandaged arm. I'm no hero, son. I only did what anyone would have done. Mateo shook his head with certainty. That's not true. Nobody else ran to the girl. Everyone ran away. You're my hero. Raúl felt a lump rise in his throat. He embraced his son with his good arm. Thank you, champ. But promise me something. Never go looking for trouble. Being brave doesn't mean throwing yourself into danger. I promise, Papa. The next morning, newspapers screamed the headline. Former soldier saves CEO's daughter in mall shooting. Social media had already christened him the invisible hero of Carabanchel. Raúl, uncomfortable with the spotlight, turned off the television and made instant coffee and toast for Mateo. Attention, he knew, was dangerous, fleeting, yet cruel. His phone buzzed with an unknown number. He ignored it. A message followed. We need to speak. Salgado, Horizon Security. Raúl deleted it without replying. But destiny was already closing in. 2 worlds collide. That evening, as rain streaked the windows of Carabanchel, a knock sounded at Raúl's door. 3 sharp raps. He opened it to find Dominic Salgado flanked by 2 men in suits. Señor Herrera, Dominic said, voice polite but cold. Señora Alvarez wishes to speak with you. Raúl narrowed his eyes. And why should I? Because you saved her daughter's life, Dominic answered smoothly. And because there are questions that must be answered. Mateo clung nervously to his father's shirt. Raúl, seeing the boy's anxious eyes, sighed. Fine, but my son comes with me. They were driven in a sleek black limousine that looked absurd against the shabby streets of Carabanchel. As they passed down the Castellana, neon lights of skyscrapers reflected in the windows. Mateo stared out in awe. Raúl sat silent, his reflection staring back at him in the tinted glass. At Horizon's headquarters, a towering palace of steel and glass, they were escorted to Victoria's office. Art lined the walls. Beyond the panoramic windows stretched all of Madrid. Victoria stood in a tailored navy suit, her face composed but her eyes shadowed with fatigue. On the carpet, Sofia played quietly with a stuffed toy, seemingly unaware of the tension. "Señor Herrera," Victoria said, her voice both firm and warm. "First, I must thank you. There are no words strong enough for what you did." Raúl shifted uneasily. "No need to thank me. I only did what anyone should." "No," Victoria insisted. "Most people ran. You did not." Mateo puffed out his chest. "My papa always protects people." A fleeting smile softened Victoria's face. But Dominic placed a folder on the desk. "We still have questions. Your military record is classified. That raises doubts." Raúl's gaze hardened. "What I did in the army is in the past. It has nothing to do with you or your company." "Dominic," Victoria cut in sharply, silencing him. She turned back to Raúl. "I understand your reluctance. But you must also understand me. Yesterday was no random act. My company has enemies, powerful ones. And Sofia is an easy target." Raúl's brows furrowed. "You're saying someone tried to kill her." "I'm saying someone is trying to hurt me," she answered, voice cracking with the weight of motherhood. "And the fastest way to do that is through my daughter." Silence stretched. At last, Raúl asked, "What do you want from me?" Victoria inhaled deeply. "I want you to work with me. To be a shadow of protection for Sofia, and for myself." Raúl froze. "I'm no bodyguard. I'm a father. I work in a warehouse. I live a simple life." "That is exactly why I ask you," Victoria countered. "Because you don't seek fame or fortune. Because when the moment came, you acted without hesitation." Mateo's eyes glistened with pride, silently urging his father to accept. That night, back in their small apartment, Raúl paced restlessly. His wound ached, but it was the crossroads before him that hurt more. On the TV, commentators debated his identity. Who is the mysterious hero of Carabanchel? Raúl switched it off in anger. "Papa," Mateo whispered from his bed. "Will you help them?" Raúl looked at his son tenderly. "What I will do, above all, is keep you safe." But in his heart he knew, fate had already pulled him back into a world he had sworn to leave. Epilogue of Beginnings. At dawn, over bitter coffee, Raúl's phone buzzed again. A message. "The offer remains. Do not rush. But remember, you saved not only my daughter. You saved me from a decision I might have regretted forever. Thank you, whatever you choose." Raúl read the words again and again. A strange warmth spread through his chest, pride, doubt, and the weight of responsibility entwined. The invisible man of Carabanchel was becoming visible. And nothing, for Raúl, Mateo, Sofia, or Victoria, would ever be the same again.